All right, everybody, thanks so much for tuning in to the WTCF podcast. It's Charlie here and want to cover last week's intention. And maybe this is something that helps you. Basically, the idea behind it is success lies in the relentless execution of the basics. And a lot of my thought process has come back to, and my explanation over the last week is a lot more football games are run by simple blocking and tackling and being able to run it up the middle. I think every football team would do something very similar, right? If they were able to just, create good blocking and tackling and then run it right up the middle, absolutely. Because more games are won by that than trick plays, by doing things like the Statue of Liberty or flea flickers or doing something really, really obscure. It's going to be the fundamental basics, right? In terms of basketball, it's going to be execution of really good passing, good shot selection, and it's not so much of just kind of flinging the ball up in the air or running ridiculous plays that's going to get you the most out of it. Um, Again, it's not about executing these ridiculously strange and obscure things. It's about getting really, really good at the basics. And I think players who are out there, so ones like Jordan and Kobe, these were players that just fundamentally went right down the middle for the basics as well as they could, and then extremely excelled at those things until they were able to move themselves forward, right? It's just getting really, really good at the basics. So what I want to go ahead and focus in on is why the basics matter. So a lot of the work that I get to do with We the Collective is strength training. And I think it's a fundamental thing that all of us need to be good at as we get older. So it's not about, doing these other crazy lifts like, Jefferson curls and Jefferson deadlifts, to be doing crazy single leg overhead snatch work. I think the blocking and tackling work here is being able to execute a squat, a deadlift, a bench, a row, and an overhead press. Also being able to carry stuff is pretty nice. Again, these are fundamental basics of our everyday life. And, while there could be, a few people who are out there who are able to do a ridiculous amount, a majority of people would actually really benefit by just doing the simple basics. So before we can deadlift hundreds of pounds or perfect our squat form, we need to master the fundamental movement patterns. Without having a strong base, we won't build long lasting strength we desire. And this is why we go to things like Lift Heavier and Barbell Club. Again, people think that they have to do a ton of other work. The idea is you just execute the basics and you do them forever until it's habit, until it's part of your personality. Even things like Aristotle is just speaking to excellence as a habit, right? The things you do over and over and over again become the person that you are. So in this being relentlessly consistent and relentless execution, even in stuff like mindfulness, it's a simple act of being present in the moment, whether we're practicing yoga, focusing on breathing, journaling. Mindfulness starts with small but consistent thoughts that can become transformative. So this is why we go ahead and practice some of those other mindful things. A lot of what I learned from the Soft 30 challenge was to journal, which I did not execute great at. But at the end of the day, I recognized some of the benefits that came from it. And I'm hoping to be able to, normalize some of those things or to use pieces like the podcast in my articles to kind of cover those bases where I can kind of put pen to paper or kind of get my voice out there about what I'm experiencing in my own life, and then just get relentless with it. Continue to do it, whether it's a good day or a bad day, whether I'm on cloud nine or down in the dumps. Another one of the factors that comes into play of simple blocking and tackling of getting healthy is just our nutrition. So we don't need a complicated diet plan to see progress. It starts with whole foods, balanced meals, and hydration. These simple habits, when practiced daily, lead to monumentous changes over time. So a lot of diet fads are out there saying like, hey, you're going to go on a juice fast for the next 7 days and you're going to lose 30 pounds doing it. Do I believe that you can lose a bunch of weight doing it? Yes, but a week later, it'll all come back. Because a lot of that is just manipulation of our water, and basically our system will just kind of clear itself out. So that to say to never do a juice cleanse? If you're suffering from some severe stomach discomfort and you've spoken to your doctor, of course, I'm no doctor, but if you've spoken to a doctor about it and you're having an upset stomach, you could be eating something you're allergic to. There could be just gut issues in general of things not passing as well as they should. Making sure we get enough fiber is always a nice little caveat and add on that is helpful that people kind of forget about. And again, it's just these little blocking and tackling things. So we don't need some crazy Atkins keto offshoot diet to go ahead and create results. It's really just about doing the basics and doing them relentlessly good. So again, whether it's a good day or a bad day. So for myself, I recognize when I have a bad day, I seem to fall back into my vices a little bit harder as a way of self-soothing and comforting. I know this of myself. It's not something I'm going to sit here and say I'm super proud of, but at least I'm fully aware of it. So once in a while, when I start to head in that direction, I can start to deter myself from going into that path, right? Because again, I've done it so many times. Now I'm just like tripping over the same step. And you're like, well, there's the trip step. What am I doing? Is this the important thing for me to work on? Is this important? Is this the basics that I need to go ahead and perform? So how do you go ahead and just get into the basics? How do you start to change and become relentless in those things? Show up. Simply stated, show up, whether it be to the gym or to show up to help your friends or for something in your personal life, for work. Showing up is half the battle. I've talked about it before, and I still think about it fairly fondly. This man was going to the gym. He would go to the gym for 5 minutes and he would leave. And he would just go and he would sit there for 5 minutes and he would leave. And he did this for like 2 or 3 months. And then eventually, people started kind of watching him. Like, what the hell is this guy doing? He comes in, he sits here for 5 minutes. And then after a while, he would come in and he would start to exercise a little bit. What he was normalizing was the first step. So it wasn't to go ahead and show up with a plan, with all the execution, with all the work getting done. He just showed up to say, I'm going to be here. And then from that, he was able to grow from it. So again, learning from the basics. So a lot of people going out there trying to learn to lift, we're not going to go ahead and start off with a 600-pound bench press. Even the great like J.M. Blakely, who has a 700-pound bench, has full out stated that having a bench over 350 is a complete waste of time. And he's admitted that. He's like, you don't know, there's no real need for it. Now, for everybody who's in the NFL, who happens to be catching this and be like, I need to lift 350 to keep my job, that's super rare. To go ahead and get like a room full of 1,000 people and be like, well, how many offensive and defensive linemen in here need to bench 350 pounds? But how many people should be able to lift their own body weight? How many people should be able to squat their own body weight or deadlift twice their own body? To work through those things to give ourselves something to fight for and work up to, right? So we don't have to even start at that point. Just starting can be really, really helpful. And then master the basics, right? Simple, easy, just break it down into fundamental steps of what you can go ahead and accomplish. How do you become a good writer? Write one word a day, right? Write one sentence a day, write one paragraph a day. So little by little, that'll start to improve because you'll start to master the basics of what you need to go ahead and do. So if it's something like Steph Curry, so Steph Curry in the NBA, it's rumored that he takes 500 3-pointers per day outside of games and practice and everything else. He takes 500 shots a day. I'm thinking he's gotten pretty good at it. His numbers do kind of, show that he's gotten really, really good at it. Even in the Olympics this last summer, how he just kind of nonchalantly just whipped a ball, like almost from super far away over Wemby into the net for essentially the game winner. Looked like the easiest thing in the world for this guy to do. When any of us, if we went into that one, we would have got blocked immediately by Wemby. The guy's a giant. So it's mastering these basics and doing them over and over and over again until they're such second nature. And then stay consistent. Keep going. Every day is not going to be the same. And this is where like motivation and discipline really seem to set their tolls. Motivation is one of those things that kind of sparks up for a little bit and then fizzles out. Discipline is what gets you there every single time. And discipline is not glamorous. It's not fun. There's days we don't want to. But it's a nice reminder to ourselves that if this is what we really want, we need to be able to do the basics. I don't think anybody's going to just show up one day. So I work with like 3 to 5-year-olds. We're not working on how to do a corner cross to a header. We're learning flamingo. Put your foot on the ball. Can you dribble and keep control of the ball? Can you pass it to your teammates? Can you defend a player? Right? Can you keep your energy up and keep running? So all of these things start to develop and build up over time because, again, little by little, those kids are going to learn. And then once they start to execute a little bit better, other people around there will start to execute theirs. And everybody will start to improve and they'll continue to advance. And then they're going to need more and more and more because they're going to know the regular blocking and tackling stuff. They're going to know how to defend it, right? And really good blocking and tackling work does a ton of great things for us. So if you're finding yourself really stuck in a predicament, you're really not quite sure how to start handling some of these things, just start thinking the relentless execution of basics. Whether it's All right, I have a laundry list of stuff I need to go ahead and accomplish. Set small steps to it. Be consistent. Keep going, little by little with progress. And before you know it, you're going to make it plenty far. And on that note, good luck.